Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to dive into a story you probably heard way back when you were a kid. We're looking at the classic fable of the lion and the tiny hero. On the surface, sure, it seems like just a simple, cute little tale. But honestly, as we peel back the layers, you'll see it's absolutely brilliant at deconstructing ideas about absolute power, why we should never underestimate anyone, and the insane return on investment you get from a single act of kindness. Let's jump right into section 1, King of the Forest, and set the stage for our story. Picture this. We're in a lush, incredibly peaceful green forest. Right in the middle of it all, sprawling under this massive giant tree, a mighty lion is fast asleep. But you gotta understand, this isn't just your average afternoon nap. This sleep, it represents total, absolute security. He's the undisputed king of the jungle, respected and feared by literally every other animal. He's at the very top of the food chain, so there are zero threats, just the complete comfort that comes with unrivaled power. Moving on to section 2, the mouse's mistake. Because as we know, even the most stable systems can be completely derailed by a tiny variable. Suddenly, that peaceful vibe is completely shattered. A tiny mouse accidentally scampers right over the sleeping lion's paw, and man, the lion's reaction is explosive. He roars, "Who dared to disturb my sleep?" The source material really dials up the terrifying anger here. He isn't just annoyed, he is insulted. The sheer volume of that roar immediately cranks up the stakes to life or death for our little protagonist. Check out this insane physical contrast. On one side, you have the huge, powerful lion, a massive apex predator packed with terrifying strength. And on the other side, a tiny, trembling mouse. The power imbalance is just off the charts. The mouse is basically microscopic compared to the king. If we're looking at this logically, this interaction only ends one way, right?
So the terrified little mouse begs for his life. But then he does something super strategic. He makes a promise. He looks up and says, "If you let me go, maybe one day I can help you out." Now, the lion literally laughs out loud at this. The sheer audacity of this speck of a creature thinking it could ever be useful to the undisputed king is just hilarious to him. It's a completely absurd idea, but here's the crazy part. That amusement actually saves the mouse. The lion finds it so ridiculous that he just decides, whatever, and lets the tiny creature go.
Okay, into section 3, the hunter's net. This is where the status quo takes a massive hit. Fast forward a few days and the whole dynamic of the forest completely shifts. Human hunters sneak into the jungle. Now, they aren't using physical size to win. They're relying on strategy and tools. They lay down this incredibly strong rope net. And wouldn't you know it, the invincible king of the forest walks right into it. In a split second, the whole power structure is flipped upside down. The apex predator is now the prey. He is trapped, tangled up, and totally helpless against those thick ropes. And then you hear his desperate cry, "Help! Someone help me!" His deafening roar echoes through the entire jungle. But it's no longer that roar of absolute authority we heard earlier, is it? It's pure panic. This is a huge contrast to his earlier arrogance. Think about it. All that immense strength, the sharp teeth, the giant claws, literally none of it matters against the hunter's ropes. So, that brings us to the big question. Will the tiny mouse actually be able to save the lion? It's such a great dramatic setup. The mighty king has fallen, and the most unlikely variable in the entire forest is suddenly his only hope. Let's dive into section 4, the tiny hero, where we hit the climax of our story. The tiny mouse hears those panicked cries echoing through the trees. Now, normally, a prey animal is going to run as far away from a roaring lion as possible, but not our guy. Remembering his promise, this brave little creature rushes straight toward the danger. He finds the massive lion all tangled up in the net and immediately tells him, "Hey, don't worry, I've got this." No hesitation at all. The mouse is ready to step up. You've got to appreciate the mechanics of this rescue. I mean, how does a tiny mouse actually defeat a hunter's trap? It's definitely not with brute force. It's through small, consistent, relentless action. Step 1, nibble. Step 2, nibble. Step 3, nibble. It's just a frantic, rhythmic pacing. The mouse gets right to work, using those tiny teeth to chew through the heavy ropes one by one. It's incredibly tedious, exhausting work, but he doesn't stop. That very smallness the lion laughed at, turns out it's the exact tool needed to break the net, until finally the massive beast is free. Which brings us to section 5, the lesson of kindness. Let's unpack the psychological shift that happens next. So, the dust settles, the lion steps out of that ruined net, completely free. He looks down at the tiny mouse, but this time, there is zero arrogance, no amusement either, just deep, genuine gratitude. He openly admits to the mouse that his previous judgment was totally wrong. He finally gets that even the absolute smallest friend can do the absolute greatest favor. And that massive paradigm shift, it sparks a lifelong friendship between the two unlikeliest of allies.
This leads us to a really profound takeaway from the text. Kindness is never wasted. That's the core truth of the whole explainer today. The lion's initial act of mercy, sparing the mouse when he thought he had literally nothing to gain from it, was basically an investment. And that single, seemingly insignificant act of kindness paid out massive dividends. It literally saved his life. It's just a perfect, beautiful loop of cause and effect.
And that brings us to the ultimate moral of the story. Never underestimate anyone because a small act of kindness can create massive change. We see this dynamic play out everywhere, right? In business, in relationships, just in everyday life. We are so quick to judge the value of people based on their obvious status or what they can do for us right now. But this classic story is a fantastic reminder that the variables we underestimate are often the exact ones that matter most when the chips are down. So I'm going to leave you with this. Who is the mouse in your own life that you might be completely underestimating right now? And where could a simple, unexpected act of kindness completely change your trajectory? Think about that for a bit. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic together.